Hey Stampers, Diane Dimich here with DailyStamps.com, and today I'm going to show you how I did this card. It's very simple. It's just some little paper piecing using a framelit, and then I've also used a stamp set. So I'll show you. First, let's start with what I used. I am using the Rose Wonder stamp set and the Rose Garden Thinlits, and these actually come as a bundle. You can get 15% off savings. I'll link all the products and measurements and everything into my website. Up at the top there, you can click on that to get it. One of the things I wanted to show you, now these show kind of small images, but these images are big. They're really big. And I just wanted you to see the different sizes as to what's opposed on the front. So to get started, I am using cardstock, and the measurements are, this is a piece of Early Espresso, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4 in the middle, and that's my card base. I'm using for a frame, I'm just using a piece of Wild Wasabi, and this is cut 5 1/4 by 4, and that's just going to layer right onto here. And then this piece is actually a 1/8 of an inch shorter than this piece, so that it will just give a little tiny matte frame around it. So we're talking 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. I thought I would remember. Anyway, so those are those pieces, and then I've got a couple of scraps just to do the little label that I'm doing on the front. And then I've got other colors that I did the flower with, and the colors that I used were Hello Honey, So Saffron, and Crushed Curry. That's my flower colors. And my leaf colors are Garden Green and Wild Wasabi. And then I'm using Early Espresso for the frame on the outside. And so to do this, what I've done is I'm going to come in with my Big Shot and my rose die. We'll use the big one. I've got my magnetic platform. I've got a plastic clear plate. I've got a dryer sheet that is actually new, so it still smells fresh. I'm laying down a piece of the So Saffron cardstock, and on this one, I just want to make sure that that flower piece is in there before I run it through my machine. Better make sure these are straight. There we go. So I'm going to run that through the machine and come out the other end. And what I love about this is that die will pop right off, but all those pieces will stay attached to the dryer sheet. And for doing this technique, this works really great because you're going to be peeling off these pieces and they're not flying all over. So I can still use this dryer sheet over and over and over. I'm going to leave that on there for now. I will go cut the rest of the cardstock and I'll be right back. Okay, so I cut out the pieces that I need, and as you can see, I added everything to a dryer sheet. And the nice thing about this is as I peel these off, I can reuse these dryer sheets over and over and over. And then the last thing that I cut was one of the roses right out of the Early Espresso, and I'm actually just going to pop these all out. They'll come right out. And that's what I'm going to use for the frame of my card. Okay, so once I have all those little pieces out, I'm going to take my fine tip glue pen. I love this little pen. It just is a really fine flow of ink. Not a lot, just a little bit, so that you can do all these fine areas on this framelit. And you don't have to get every single spot, but I do like to make sure like the tips of my leaves are down, my edges. But you don't have to hit all the way around it. But you want to get enough on there. Okay, once I have that all with adhesive on it, I'm going to go ahead and take my sheet of Whisper White cardstock that I'd cut down, and I'm just going to add this frame right onto my cardstock. And you just want to go around and make sure that everything gets adhered. Might even flip it over and really, push fairly hard on that, trying to get all those edges adhered down. And see, this leaf is coming up, so I'm just going to add a little bit of adhesive under there and then push it down again. Once I get all these pieces back in here, it is going to, that's going to hold it down more too. So once you've done that, then what you're going to do is you're just going to come in, and I'm using 3 different colors just because I like the shading of it all, and I'm just going to add some ink into these middle holes here. And then it's like putting a puzzle together, only luckily the pieces are all pretty easy to find. And you just go ahead and pop them right into the spaces that are open for those pieces, and they fit right in there nicely because they've all been cut with a die cut that's exactly the same. And really there's no rhyme or reason, I just kind of put pieces in there. Just trying to make sure that, you know, no two were exactly alike sitting on top of each other. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so I got the inside of the flower done. It doesn't take very long once you start putting the pieces in there, and it doesn't really matter. You can just randomly put them in there. But one of the things I like about this is that if I cut more of these frames, I can do 3 flowers because I'm just going to use the opposite pieces. And so I just keep placing them all in there until I have 3 flowers done. And then we're good to go. Now I'm going to go in now and place the green into the leaves. Same concept, just going to pop them in there, and I will be right back. Okay, so there's my card done with the green too, and I will tell you I only used 2 different colors of green. So I have enough in my leaves cut to go ahead and do one more card like this. If I'd added a 3rd green in there, I would have some, but you can always cut some more. Anyway, I love the way this looks. It gives it kind of a stained glass look, and I just glued it right onto that piece of Whisper White, and so it's a pretty sturdy piece of cardstock. Then what you're going to do is you're going to come in, and I'm just going to attach it. So I'm going to attach my Wild Wasabi onto my card base, and then attach my Whisper White onto that frame, and you'll see how it just gives just a little bit of a green edge around there. Just adds a little to it. Once I've done that, I'm coming in with my pieces of scrap, and what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to use Early Espresso, and I'm actually going to stamp the frame from that set, and then I'm going to stamp the words inside that frame. And I love it photopolymer because you can look and see if you're lining them up exactly how you want them. Stamp them down. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this piece through to get a frame with the framelits, which is this one here. And then I'm going to cut this one out, and I'll show you why in a minute. Once I have those done, I'm going to go ahead and trim this out. And the reason that I stamped the frame is I actually want to cut this and just cut that frame off. And one of the things I've found when you're cutting a frame off like this is if you have a background piece of paper that's white, like this, I'll be able to see that I did cut that whole frame off. So if it's on a dark background, I can't really see if I've totally cut it off. But all I'm going to do is just trim off that frame. And then once I have the frame cut off, it's going to layer right onto that label perfectly. That was the reason that I stamped that frame first, because I really wanted that to lay right on there and match up perfectly. And then this is just going to get attached on to the front of my card. Really not very hard technique, but really fun. It looks like stained glass. People will be impressed with all the paper piercing, and using the dryer sheets makes it super easy. Now I do have other cards that I did with this technique that I'm going to show at the end of the video, so you might want to stick around to see some of those other samples. But I'm going to come back to the original card that I made, and when I open it up, you'll see that I stamped, I did insert the same size, 4 by 5 1/4, and then I just stamped it with one of the sentiments, and then I took that big rose stamp and added that onto one of my clear blocks and stamped that on the inside using one of the colors of yellows that I used. And that's it. It just is a really fun, pretty card. This one I added with dimensionals, this one I did not. So you can see you can kind of change it up a little bit. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you enjoyed the other samples that'll come up here. Thanks, and if you haven't already done so, you may want to visit my website where you can sign up for my newsletter, tips, tricks, and techniques each week. Thanks, and have a great day.